And we are live, I think. Can someone post in chat to let me know that we are live? It looks like we're live. Can I see myself? Yes. And we are live, I think. Can someone post in chat to let me know that we are live? It looks like we're live. Can I see myself? Yes. All right. Let me move chat over here. Thanks, Zach. All right. Welcome, everybody. So, first of all, I hope everybody is having a great Thursday. For those that may not know, I don't know what brought you here, but I'm Derek. I'm the founder of Birthday Labs, president, mayor, architect, something builder maybe of Native. In today's stream, let's go camera only right now. In today's stream, I want to give a rundown of kind of where Native is, what's going on, where we're headed, share some news with everyone. I'll also be paying attention to chat. I've got it kind of off screen here, and answering some of the questions that have been submitted via the Google form that I shared across socials earlier today. So if you think of a question while I'm talking, while I'm going through this, you can feel free to throw it in the chat that I'm paying attention to, or you can submit it into the Google form. This is being kind of recorded on YouTube. I think we're also live on Twitch. I'm not 100% sure, but there will be kind of a save session after this that will live on the YouTube channel. So if you have to hop off, or if you're missing this for work reasons or whatever, this is here. So like I said, I'll be paying attention to chat, as well as the Google form for submitted questions that I'll go through. No promise that I'll get to every question. I hope to, as long as it's like a valid, relevant question. I'm not going to shy away from hard questions. As long as it's related and relevant, I'm happy to kind of tackle it. So let's just go ahead and jump in. It's no secret that the markets are pretty fun right now, down across the board, including Native, and that's certainly some of the kind of bad news. But you can't have good news without bad news, at least in my experience in life. And so, in talking about token price with projects like this and others, I found it best to control the controllables. And I can't control token price. I don't control markets, nor should I, etc. Most of the time, people get in a lot of trouble trying to control markets. That's not the goal here. I can control what I do day to day. I can control what I'm building. I can control the communication that I have with the community, etc. And that's the plan right now. I can control my day to day and what I build, and that's it. And so that said, I think people may, share doubts or, uncertainty, certainly FUDs out there, etc., around what's happening with any token, not just Native, but certainly Native. I will be the first to say I have more skin in the game than anyone watching this. And I can say that with certainty because most of this is on chain. But not just financially. Derek Brown is my real name. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. Farcaster. Those are my real socials. The socials I tweet from, cast from, etc. That is me. This is my name, word, reputation. It's all on the line, not just my capital. And so when I'm, devoting my time to Native, it's very real. My name, my word, my reputation are all on the line here, not just the money. And so, when I talk about building Native, like that's a very serious thing to me. And so, that's kind of all I can say right now about the markets, about the token. I mean, I know folks may be disappointed, but they may also be excited. It's a great entry point for what I'm building. So with that said, let's talk about the state of dev right now and kind of where things are from a build perspective. The native ecosystem right now, it's much bigger than you think. It's about 4,000 files, over 500,000 lines of code. That's like everything from smart contracts to passports to dot infrastructure, the mobile app for both iOS and Android, the web app, and more, some of which you'll see later today on this stream. It's a lot, and I'm one person. I will say some of the lesser important items have been built by Birthday Labs' second engineer. They go by the name Claude Code, for the record. It's just me. Every single file has been touched, reviewed, laid hands on by me, for better or for worse. But I say often that, I can't I'm a solo dev, but I'm not alone. I can't do this alone. And so in order to get the user experience that I really want for native users, I'm used to building consumer products at, a certain level of scale, and, that's used by quote unquote normies. Right. And so, I have a threshold there, and, right now the native, app it's not there yet, for a couple of reasons that we'll get into. So one of the kind of lesser reasons here is the native pairing. I recently made the decision and announcement that everything within the native ecosystem is going to be paired with native. I 100% think that that's the right decision. I think it's going to drive more value to the native token, so that as dots are launched, as plots are minted, as tokens are launched within the city of native, that value accrual is going back to the native token. I think that's really, really important. And shout out to Clanker. Clanker's awesome. They are the tech that's kind of building out, and providing that tokenomic backbone for native, and has been since day one. So as a reminder, everything within the city of native is tokenized. Everything from coffee to energy to DJ beats to books, whatever. It's all tokenized via Clanker, paired with native, and then the resulting revenue generated from the fees, as those things are traded, goes back into the native economy, back into the hands of native users, as passive income. And that's a critical part of what I'm building here. I'm working very closely with the Clanker team. They're not just friends, and they're partners as well, and working closely together to make sure that native pairing works. All the liquidity is there. It works well for the kind of the end goal and end experience that's there. Jack Dishman is personally kind of doing a lot of the work for that, and Clanker's an incredible partner for what we're building, and but not quite there yet. We're getting there slowly but surely. The bigger blocker here is on wallets and auth, and that's kind of why I'm behind roadmap right now. So let's talk about Privy. Privy is a crucial partner in what I'm building here at Native. My goal is for Native to be the app that you tell people to check out when you want to bring them on chain. You can't, be on chain without a wallet. Privy helps provide that, not just signing in with what's called an EOA or an externally owned account, things like, MetaMask, Zerion, Rainbow, etc., all the wallets that you may be familiar with. But if you're going to onboard your normie friends to Native, like, hey, check out this really cool game, you can earn passive income, etc., they need to be able to sign in with, they're not going to have a wallet. They need to be able to sign in with things like Twitter or Gmail, etc. And Privy has solved that problem. The hardest pieces of that problem. Unfortunately, though, that process doesn't currently work super seamlessly on mobile. You can't always log in. It's kind of hit or miss sometimes. In the coding world, we call that problem probabilistic. Sorry, that's a difficult word. Probabilistic. They're not deterministic. So they work sometimes. It doesn't work all the time. It's kind of hit or miss, and you can't know up front whether or not it's going to work. It's a very, very annoying experience, and that's when it does work. And I would say it's a coin flip as to when it works or not. The good news is the Privy team is making significant strides here. So I, as a one-man show, have a Slack instance, and the Privy team, there's like 10 folks from Privy in on this problem that have been looped in on this problem. I actually earlier today, just less than an hour ago, actually had a conversation with the senior engineer that's kind of spearheading this problem. He's super stoked to work on this problem, but because it impacts so many people, not just native, it's really honestly moving the industry forward. But the reality is, like, because it's auth, it's sign in, it's login, it's the wallet connection, etc. That actually is upstream of everything else within the native app. So if you can't log in, obviously you can't do anything else. And so I've been blocked on auth, which means that I've been blocked on everything else. But like I said, the good news is that he kind of has a path forward and is working on that. I'm already on a beta version of Privy that no one really has access to yet in trying to solve this problem. I would say we're at least a sprint being a week to 2 weeks out from solving it. Realistically, let's say 2 sprints, so 3 to 4 weeks out from solving it. And auth is the primary blocker here. But once that gets resolved, that's like the biggest domino to everything else, kind of falling into place. And you may say, like, Derek, you had a mobile app before, like, what happened? Like, why did it work before and not now? The reality is, it wasn't using Privy before, which means that normies couldn't log in before unless they had a wallet. The onboarding was like super janky, etc. Privy solves all of that for me, which is amazing, and they're awesome. But we have to get it working, right? And so the state of native right now is that I have an eye towards the future, towards the end of the year, towards the turn of the year, and massive growth, which means partnering and preparing for that growth ahead of time, which means partnering with a provider like Privy. So that is by far and away the primary blocker right now. It means I'm a little bit behind on the mobile app in particular, but so then the obvious question is, while I'm blocked, what's happening? What's going on? Well, I'm going on vacation for a month. No, I'm kidding. If you were listening there, you heard that I'm blocked on mobile, but mobile isn't everything. And so I'm not blocked on visuals, for instance. I'm working closely with the OpSys team, operating system. So Flood, Jordan is Green, to really nail this down. You can actually see a lot of that content on YouTube already, like what will dots look like, what will the world look like, etc. So visuals are currently in process. I'm not blocked on mini apps. Behind the scenes, I've been working diligently on Pains, which if you're not familiar with Pains is a way to build a mini app on Farcaster, with a simple prompt. And so specifically for Nativeverse apps, apps built around native coins, and I'll get to that in a moment. And so work on Pains has continued to build apps like the Balloon app, which has progress as well. And I'm beginning to scaffold out the world, which is really exciting. And I have something to show you today. One of the things that has been most annoying to me is the fact that with this mobile app being blocked, I'm not getting constant feedback on the direction of native, on the product, etc., which as a builder is like very frustrating. And so I've decided to change that, and working on something that I'm calling Play, or the world, or the city, whatever you want to call it. I'm beginning to scaffold out the world and the experience of native. And so I'd actually like to show you that today, walk you through it. And then we're going to, kind of go through some of that and talk about the direction here. What you're about to see is super, super alpha. You'll be able to play with it. It'll be available at play.native.fun. Both onboarding, you'll start to get a sense for what I'm thinking about and talking about, but you can actually see that here. Play.native.fun. You'll connect a wallet. It's using Privy. The same thing that doesn't work yet on mobile does work on desktop. And you'll see this room. So the world starts with a room, and visuals notwithstanding. So when you're looking at this, don't think that this is the end goal of native or anything like that. Like this is something for us to like wrap our minds around, for me to start to integrate all the tech that I've built into a robust user experience. You'll start to see that here at play.native.fun. It is gated on the native token, so you need to hold native in order to experiment with this. But what this also means is that this is a way for me to ship constant features on desktop and for folks to give feedback and things like that. So right now, when you sign in, you'll get this little guy representing a dot, and you can move around and kind of be in this room. In the near future, you'll be able to chat along with people that are next to you, etc. And you'll kind of see that here in the global chat. Everything has keyboard shortcuts, etc. It's really easy to play on desktop. But think of it like a kind of collaborative multiplayer experience within a room, within the setting of native. And things are going to be moving very, very fast here. While I'm waiting for the mobile issues to be resolved, this is where the innovation is going to happen, and starting to build out the world of native. And so you can start to see the vision here for native, where dots are moving around. They come across things like birthday balloons, and then as a Farcaster client, you start to see, okay, well, the interactables in the world of native are themselves mini apps. This is the balloon mini app, right? I can come over and open up the market mini app, and for now, you and I as humans will be able to interact with these, but dots will be able to interact with them too in an automated fashion. And you'll start to see these experiences that previously were kind of disjointed, everything was kind of separate from one another, etc. You can actually see them come together in an experience, all backed by native, tokens launching, dots acting, people chatting and having fun, all within this kind of single experience, right? And so this is all happening at play.native.fun. This is what I'm going to be working on for the future while the mobile app is blocked. Feel free to give it a run and check it out. There's going to be plenty of bugs. Like I said, it's like a pre-alpha kind of version. Visuals aren't there, etc. But it'll start to give you a feel for kind of what's happening in the world of native, what the direction is. You can share this with folks, etc. And there's going to be constant announcements and updates as I ship additional stuff here to play.native.fun. And so feel free to give it a run. This is going to be a lot of fun for native holders in the foreseeable future. So with that, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to up front. Now let's talk about and tackle some of the questions. So if you have them, feel free to throw it in the chat. I'm going to pull up the Q&A here, and we'll go through it. one by one. So, first question. When will native Google Play Store app begin rollout to users? So I touched on that earlier. Right now, the Google Play Store app and the iOS app are in the same boat. The native code base is a single code base for both apps. And as soon as the auth issues that I talked about earlier get resolved, and then I resolve some of the kind of secondary issues that come from that, then it'll be in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store kind of simultaneously. So certainly this quarter, well, September, October, aiming for this quarter. Assuming that the privy issues can get kind of resolved fairly quickly, but as of right now, it's blocked on those auth issues. Next question. We've seen examples of network effects and flywheels from projects like Zora recently. Are you positioning native to be able to create a similar flywheel which rapidly expands the user base and the value accruing to the native token? Absolutely. And in fact, that's why I made the recent decision to pair everything with native, right? So you can imagine a lot of dots in the world interacting with each other, interacting with Nativeverse apps built by Pains. And so let's say, you launch a token. Let's use Balloon as an example. You launch a token that's like Balloon, and you tag at Pains or at many apps on Farcaster or in the native app. You tag Pains to create a Nativeverse app for you around your token that you launched, right? So in this case, Balloon, like, hey, I want to create a balloon popping app, right? Now Balloon is paired with native. That app can be used by other people and dots, in some ways, to accrue value to Balloon, which in turn accrues value to native, which brings, more people into the ecosystem to launch additional tokens, to build additional mini apps, all within this world that's ever expanding, ever growing, with both users, apps, and native paired tokens. So imagine if Virtuals wasn't just a collection of Twitter accounts. Right? That's kind of what native is going to be, a place of entertainment, right? So Virtuals meets Roblox, if you will. A place for entertainment as well as utility via mini apps built around tokens that are all paired with native. And so that's some of the network effects and flywheels that I see happening. I think primarily in terms of flywheels and network effects. And so anybody that has worked with me in the past, anybody that knows me well, can attest to that. And so I think that's a very, very important piece. Again, I have skin in the game here. I own more native than pretty much everyone except the liquidity pool. It's in my best interest to accrue value to native as well. And so that's part of the magic of tokens, is that it aligns our incentives, me as builder, you all as holders. It aligns the incentives here together, which will not only expand the user base, but accrue value to the native token as well. How do you envision native post-launch? That's a loaded question, because post-launch kind of indicates that there's this finish line. In my mind, there's not. This is a potentially, years-long project where constant additions and features and value is being, kind of brought. After a V1, that's when I will start to look to build a team around the native product, assuming it all works. Then it's okay, V1 is out, the MVP works, all of the philosophy and ideas and things like that, the core thesis of native works. Now let's build a team, resource a team around that, and continue to expand it. And then, that dovetails with some of the other questions that are here around marketing or whatever. But, I believe that, once you have a story to tell, like a really robust story, like, hey, Native is not only a very successful project, it's not only a very fun product to interact with, it's also putting passive income into people's pockets by nature of these AI agents interacting within the city. Once you have that story, now it's grow, right? We are not at that point yet. We're not at 1. We're still in the 0 to 1 phase. Right now of Native, and until we get there, like, everything else is just fluff. Everything else just doesn't matter yet, right? There will be a point where marketing and telling the story matters, but you can't tell a story to a larger audience until you actually have a story to tell. Native does not yet have a story to tell, and that's what we're writing right now. Let's see. Other questions. How big do you think in terms of number of users, TVL, daily volume, FDV, etc. by end of year and end of 2026? I think end of this year, given some of the delays, it's just, let's get to market, right? Like, that is the entirety of it, capturing crypto natives at first. Starting on, with Farcaster, the native holder audience, etc. That's the core audience that I need to write the story well for. Like, hey, we're using Native every day. It's generating X amount of dollars for us, every day as an individual. Like, my goal is to buy every Native holder a cup of coffee every day. Right? In terms of passive income. That is the first goal. If I can say to the market, to the world, to an investor, etc., that every single Native user generates $5 in passive income every day, that is a massive, massive win. Because then it's like, okay, we have $5 of passive income generated. How do we then scale that to $10, to $100? How could you pay your rent on Native, etc.? Those are the benchmarks for me. I don't think in terms of non-controllables. I don't think in terms of what the market says, or fully diluted value, or number of holders, because I can't directly control those things. That's up to the market. I can control things like, how fun is the game? What is the retention curve like? How much income am I generating passively for each user of Native? Am I listening to feedback within the Native community? Am I executing against that feedback at a high speed, etc.? And so that's how I think. Now, that said, if I'm executing well on those things that I can control, I do suspect the market to respond well, in a massive way, honestly, right? When you think about, the comps here are, of the bygone era, things like Decentraland or Sandbox. The current era, things like Virtuals, is kind of the elephant in the room, if you will. Like, those are massive, massive opportunities and massive outcomes to chase. And I think not only can we chase them and reach them, but we can surpass them as well. So, number 2. How do you envision the adoption curve in terms of personas for both the game and for investors/speculators? On the investor-speculators front, I think that persona is going to be pretty standard for the foreseeable future. I think the persona of the type of people that are going to own any token, not just Native, that persona is going to be pretty straightforward. For the most part, pretty standard for the most part. In terms of personas of who's actively using the game, etc., I think the majority of this first cohort are going to be Farcaster users, that are crypto native. I think that's just the name of the game right now. That's kind of the beginning cohort of users. But then you use that to branch out, right? Those Thanksgiving dinner conversations, the Christmas conversations, you're at a coffee house talking to a barista about, generating income or whatever. I want native to be kind of the tip of the tongue, and that's how you go from this really tight circle of crypto native users to an ever expanding user base as people talk about what's possible within the world of native, not just from a passive income and economic value standpoint, but also from an entertainment standpoint. Like, it should be increasingly more and more fun to play with kind of every launch of native. So. Number 3, this person submitted multiple questions. How can we communicate native with a compelling story to existing FCs? I assume that's Farcasters and new non-crypto native users. This needs a step change. Like I said earlier, you shouldn't be looking to expand and tell a story to more and more people until you actually have a story to tell. And hey, we have a token is not a good story to tell. I think a lot of people get that really confused. Like, this is still in the early stages. Yes, I'm building a lot. Yes, there's a lot of value here. Yes, we have a decent market cap for the stage that native is at, even now, right? It's certainly nothing to sneeze at, but at the same time, we're just getting started. And as the native product continues to become real, that story continues to become more and more real, and then it's it becomes more compelling over time. So I think in the meantime, sharing what is being built, sharing the products that end up in your hands, like play.native.fun very soon, sharing those things with folks who are early adopters, I think that's great, and would certainly encourage that. And then I suspect that as value gets created there, whether that's passive income or entertainment, etc., the story that folks can tell will kind of organically emerge. Are you more confident in the native success than, say, 2 or 3 months ago? For what reason? Yes, 100%, right? I think the market is a lagging indicator of that, because frankly, you all don't see what I see on a daily basis. I know what I'm building, and I know the progress that's being had, et cetera. And so, I have not seen anything right now that is completely blocking and, kind of a nail in the coffin for the native thesis. In fact, the opposite. Technology is starting to catch up with the ideas of native, whether it's auth from Privy, or the, token pairing from Clanker, or even things that you all haven't seen yet, like what I'm seeing in terms of dot infrastructure and AI agent models being improved over time. Every 3 months, all of the dots get an upgrade for free, just by nature of models being improved, the base models for dots. And that's a really, really important kind of fact here, is dots will get upgraded without me having to do anything, just by nature of some of the baseline models, not just OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever, but better on-chain work, like Banker's SDK, for instance, that I'm integrating with dots. Those types of things are getting launched every day, which means that there's now new functionality and features that can be integrated into the native world without me having to build them firsthand, which is amazing. And so I think a lot of the unknowns are being answered as well, particularly around AI agents and what they're capable of. And so, yes, I am far more confident now than I was, 2, 3, 6 months ago, for sure. Let's see. Where would I rank native among top Clanker projects in terms of coding difficulty and complexity? I'm biased. I would say it's by far the most difficult project on Clanker, in terms of both difficulty and and complexity. And that's not shade to any other Clinker project, right? Like the tipping apps ecosystem, or what Jake is doing with QR. Like, I am a fan and a holder of a lot of those projects. I love all of them. Well, that's probably not true. I love most of them. I really respect anyone building in this space. But that said, I think building a world of humans and AI agents that create economic and entertainment value is a very, very, very large undertaking in terms of both difficulty and complexity. And I think that's just an objective reality. Number 2, how are you planning to create virality around Native's launch? There's some fun things planned with what you can do with Dots, and having Dots have their own social media presences and things like that, as well as incentivizing folks with not just native tokens, but kind of unlockables within the world of native, things like that, being able to earn certain stamps for your dot or for yourself, certain badges and visual upgrades and things like that. There's a lot of discussion around that within the native community as well, which I'm really stoked to see. And even in sharing some of the MVP stuff with some friends, they're like, yeah, immediately I want to be able to like change my dots look and stuff like that, which is really cool. And I think we'll create kind of viral experiences around dots. So let me check in on the chat. No questions in the chat right now. Yep, no questions in the chat right now. Next question that was submitted. Beyond organic growth, are there plans to strategically invest in paid marketing strategies? Once there's a story, absolutely, right? I think that will be critical. Of course, I'm going to have an eye on what's called CAC, or customer acquisition cost, in the world of native. But initially, I think it's like nail the product and then lean on organic growth and then lean on paid marketing. That's typically the way that consumer apps tend to be built, right? Whether that's in a Web 2 world or even on chain, right? Like, I joined Farcaster. I was one of the first 200 people on Farcaster, and that's kind of how Dan and company did it. And I think that's correct, right? Where you make sure you get the core product right, and that usually takes a year, 2 years. It did in the case of Farcaster. And then you start to see organic growth, and then you start thinking about what does it look like to bring on additional creators or paid partners, et cetera. And so native will be much the same. I envision native growing to a stage where major brands in real life will want to own land, tokenize their products on the platform for brand visibility and brand salience. Do you think this is achievable? How can we make this a reality? Do I think this is achievable? Absolutely. That is actually a crucial piece in the flywheel for native, where brands will have a presence in native of some form, and that presence will create value for native holders, right? So, maybe it's not like, hey, pay $50,000 and get a plot in native. It's, hey, go buy $50,000 worth of native, and things like that. How can we make this a reality? If you know a brand, our brand, etc., please, send them my way. It's never too early to start those conversations. If you want a real life, a digital presence for a real life business, hit me up. I'm here. Let's see, some more questions coming in. Do I have things planned to fight bad behavior detrimental to native or its users, sniping of coins, gaming the random cards, etc.? Absolutely, right? So the cards, for instance, there are some kind of protections. Sniping of coins is an interesting one. So first of all, Clinker, I know this is top of mind for them, and that's part of the benefit of working with partners and great teams like Clinker. V4.1, it does a lot to help start preventing snipers, etc. I will say though that snipers actually provide the initial liquidity in a lot of cases, and so when agents are trading coins, etc., maybe it's not always a bad thing for that kind of thing to occur, as long as the value that's being created there comes back into native holders' pockets. That's fine. But from a bad behavior perspective, whether it's a solo attack or gaming certain pieces, that's absolutely top of mind for me in native. And by the way, like if you see anything that is gameable or things like that, feel free to DM me, and if it's verified, there'll be some kind of reward in it for you. So I appreciate you calling that out. It is crucial to not only provide value to native users, but also to prevent native users from being abused in any way. Derek, you're very handsome, but wear a native hat. First of all, thank you. I'll take the kind words. Second of all, I thank you for reminding me. Merch is on the way. Operating System is doing a phenomenal job there. We've got shirts, hats, and a few other couple surprise things coming. So stay tuned. Native merch is going to be on the way. I hope to be wearing a native hat very, very soon. Until then, go birds. Let's see. Additional questions. Can you talk about the agentic innovations in native in broad strokes, whether V1 or future versions? Yes, as of right now, agents, specifically dots within native, can do, this is a broad stroke, so forgive me, let's say 80% of what you and I can do on chain. So providing liquidity, trading, wrapping ETH, trading coins, of course, buying and selling tokens paired with native, using Banker much like you and I can. They have their own wallet. They can send assets to another wallet address, whether that address is another dot or another human. They can recognize humans within the city of native via passports. There's a lot of kind of features and functions that dots can do there, and that's only going to start improving. Like right now, I'm thinking about the product experience around dots, but in the future, there's going to be even more resources kind of poured into what dots are able to do, both within the world of native, but also on chain as well. Let's see. More questions. It might be it. I think that is it. I'll give a couple more minutes for any last minute questions to pop in. Let me check the Telegram here really quick. Let's see here. Doesn't seem to be any last minute questions on socials. Let me check Twitter. I think that is pretty much it. We've gone about an hour on the stream. Not bad. Not bad. I'll check the... Oh, one more question came in. Let's see if it's appropriate. Will you have some kind of admin rights on the native ecosystem in case there are problems like, for example, a dot forgets his token, some issue happened during token creation? Yes. So this is... a point of contention with a lot of philosophical debates or whatever. My reputation's on the line, both financially and socially. I do have admin rights within Native. I'm not only an owner of all the smart contracts, I'm also an admin of all the smart contracts within Native. I do have things like the ability to withdraw ERC20 tokens from DOTs, things like that in case something does go wrong. There will be recoverability in many cases, not all cases. There are some things that I won't have control over, but in a lot of cases, I do have admin rights within the ecosystem, and I think there are already cases out there where maybe minting went wrong or something like that for a passport or whatever, and I've sought to make that right. And I think there are people within the community that would attest to that, and I certainly have receipts for those types of things. And so my primary kind of MO in all of this is to do right by Native holders and participants within the world of Native. Even if things don't work out the way that I hope they will, and that I'm betting that they will. My MO here is to do right by everyone within the ecosystem, and that includes when things go wrong. So the short answer there is yes, I do have admin kind of benevolent monarch rights within Native. And if you don't like that, that's okay. You don't have to like it, but that is the case within the Native ecosystem. So I think that was the last question that came in. Let me check one more time. It is. I hope that you all enjoyed this kind of behind the scenes look at what Native's doing, where it is, what I've been up to, etc. Stay tuned later for me sharing the link to the MVP, check it on a regular basis. There's going to be new stuff shipped, and of course I'll share that out kind of all the time. But I appreciate you all. Welcome home, everyone. See ya.